Righto, well, it's actually raining outside, so there's probably a bit of background fuzz to this, but anyway, let's keep going. So we need to look at this whole concept of relative frequency. Okay, now the word frequency, that just means how often. The frequency with which you drive is how often you drive, okay, or how many times. That's all we're talking about. So if you counted how many times something happens, that's its frequency, okay? Now, this is used to work out probabilities, but it's probabilities that are based on data. You can't just look at this thing and go, oh, the probability is 0.6. Okay, you can't do that. You need data. Okay, so it's based on data that has been recorded. Now, for instance, if you wanted to know what was the chances of me standing in a basketball court and be able to shoot a hoop, okay, now it wouldn't be real high, but it wouldn't be zero. There is a chance I'd get it in, but you don't know just by looking at me. You'd have to give me a basketball, stand me in the basketball court and go, right, throw this 100 times and see, we'll record how many you get in. Okay, you'd actually have to go and do this and actually record the results for you to figure out what's the chances of me doing that. Okay, so this whole idea of a probability that's based on data, we're going to call that a relative frequency. Okay? All right, so let's look at an example. Okay, so let's say you want to know, what's the chances of spotting a broken down car on the Logan motorway? Okay, now just by looking at the Logan motorway on a map, you can't tell that. Okay, you actually have to get some data. So here's Fred. Fred has driven on the Logan motorway 749 times over the last few years. He drives there a lot. Maybe he does that for work, okay? Now in that time, he's noted down how many cars he has seen that are broken down. It's not his car that's breaking down, but it's cars that he's seen that have broken down on the Logan motorway. He has seen 18 cars in the last 749 times. So that's the data. He has recorded that data because he's a strange kind of guy. So what's the chances, the relative frequency of seeing a breakdown on that road? All right, so relative frequency of a particular event, okay, is the number of required events, the things that you're interested in, okay, over the total number of attempts or trials or times that you did this, okay? So he drove 749 times. And only on 18 of those did he actually spot a broken down car. So we're going to have for this relative frequency of a broken down car is going to be 749 on the bottom, because that's how many total times he drove on the Logan motorway. Okay, and only on 18 of those times did he spot a broken down car. So it's that. Okay, now the question might ask you to give this as a simplified fraction, okay, in which case you use the fraction button on your device to do that. Let's do this as a decimal though. Okay, so I'm going to go 18 divided by 749. All right, I'm going to do 3 decimal places there. Okay, so that's the relative frequency, or about 2.4% of the time, okay? So the chances of someone driving on the Logan motorway, according to Fred's data, of spotting a broken down car is 0.024. All right, so that's the whole concept of relative frequency. But let's have a look at the kinds of things that you'll be asked to do. Let's say we've got a business that has recorded the number of customer complaints that happen every single month. And they've done this for quite some time. Okay, so No customer complaints in a month. That happens 16 times. So that's 16 months. That's the frequency. How many times did this get recorded? It got recorded 16 times. So 16 times there were no customer complaints. Once, there was a total of 4 customer complaints. 2 complaints were recorded 3 times. Okay, so that's how you read this table. This stuff here is how many times it was recorded. So the number 1 was recorded 4 times. Okay, so what is the relative frequency of 0 complaints? Well, first of all, before we do any of that, what's the total? We have to add up all of this. Okay, so if you jump on your calculators, that's going to be 20, 28, 29. Okay, so 29 is the total number of events, if you will. Total number of recordings. All right, so 29 is going to be on the bottom of the fraction. All right, so 0 complaints. It's not 0. Okay, 0 occurred 16 times. So it's going to be 16 over 29. Now, can we simplify that? Probably not, because I didn't rig it. But let's have a go. 16, ABC button, 29. Nope, can't rig it. Okay, so I'm just going to go 16 divided by 29. That's 0.55. That's the frequency for that 0 complaint. So a bit more than half the time. Okay. What about this weird thing? It said this is more than 2. Okay, now some people talk about the alligator eating the small one or whatever. That's not how I remember it. I remember it as back, if you got a number line, okay, 0, 1, then -1. Okay, if it's that, you're heading into the bigger. Okay, so more than, less than. That's how I remember it. So more than 2. So that doesn't include 2. It's more than 2. So that's these ones here. Okay, so what's going on there? So we've got 5 and 1, so that's 6. There were 6 times that there were more than 2. So it's 6 there. It's still over 29 though. Okay, still over 29. All right, so I really should have rigged this, but again, I'm not going to be able to simplify that the bottom one isn't divisible by 2 or 3, but yep, it's still 6 over 29. So let's just go 6 divided by 29. I'm going to round that to 0.21. Okay, so 0.21 of the times, that's about, 21% of the time you've got more than 2. All right, so what's this symbol here? That is less than or equal to. Less than or equal to 3. That means it includes 3, and it's all of that, because this is all less than 3, and that's including 3. So less than or equal to 3. That's going to be 28 over 29. .97. Okay, that's how you do this. Now, if the question asks you to express it as a simplified fraction, it'll be rigged so you can do that. So let's say if you had 16 over 40. Okay, so you just get the calculator, go 16, ABC button, 40 equals, that's 2 over 5. Okay, that's how you simplify it if the question asks you that, and I dare say it will. But that is how you do relative frequency.